Have you ever wondered what our world would look like if electricity ceased to exist tomorrow? Imagine the scene. Your smartphones turn into dead pieces of glass, the internet vanishes, hospitals shut down, and the streets of the world plunge into pitch darkness. All this technological advancement we live with and rely on every second of our lives is backed by a single man. And the shocking paradox? This man was born into extreme poverty, never received a proper school education, had a speech impediment, and started his career as a floor sweeper in shops. How did a bookbinder's apprentice, who didn't even know basic math equations, manage to become the greatest experimental scientist in human history, to the point where Albert Einstein kept his portrait hanging in his office? This is not just a story about physics, it is one of the greatest tales of human struggle. Let's dive into a 10-minute journey into the life of the father of electricity, Michael Faraday. Michael Faraday was born in 1791 in the outskirts of London to a very poor family. His father was a sick blacksmith who could barely make ends meet. At the age of 13, Faraday had to leave his very modest school, where he only learned basic reading and writing, to work as a newspaper delivery boy, then moved on to become an apprentice in a bookbinding shop. For anyone else, this job would have been just exhausting routine work, but for Faraday, this shop was his private university. During his 7 years binding books, Faraday didn't just stop at the covers, he read everything that fell into his hands. He was particularly drawn to scientific books, specifically articles on electricity in the Encyclopedia Britannica. He didn't just read, he began collecting scrap metal and glass bottles from the streets to build primitive equipment and test what he read himself, in a small back room of the bookbindery. The major turning point happened when a customer of the shop noticed this young binder's passion for science and gifted him a ticket to attend a series of lectures by the then famous English scientist Sir Humphrey Davy at the Royal Institution. Faraday sat through those lectures fascinated, but he wasn't just an ordinary listener. He wrote down every word Davy said, drew illustrative diagrams of the experiments, then returned to his shop and bound those notes into a magnificent 300-page art book. He sent it as a gift to Sir Humphrey Davy, asking for a job in his laboratory. Initially, there were no vacancies. But shortly after, Davy suffered a chemical explosion in his lab that temporarily damaged his eyes. He remembered the meticulous young man who sent him the book, and hired him as a laboratory assistant, whose primary task was washing bottles and sweeping floors. In the laboratory, Faraday demonstrated a brilliant genius that went far beyond being just an assistant. In 1821, scientists across Europe were baffled by the relationship between electricity and magnetism, but no one knew how to utilize it. Faraday took a simple idea and started thinking outside the box. He placed a magnet in a bowl of mercury and passed an electric current through a wire suspended above it. The result? The wire began to rotate continuously around the magnet. Faraday had just invented the first electric motor in history. This simple invention is the granddaddy of every electric motor we use today, from ceiling fans to electric cars. But instead of rejoicing in his student's achievement, Davy was consumed by jealousy. He tried to accuse Faraday of stealing the idea and even attempted to prevent him from joining the prestigious Royal Society. But Faraday's genius and experimental proofs were simply too strong to be suppressed. If Faraday had invented a way to turn electricity into motion, he asked himself the opposite question: could motion and magnetism be turned into electricity? He kept trying for years until the ultimate breakthrough came in 1831. Faraday discovered that if he moved a magnet inside a coil of copper wire, it generated an electric current in the wire. This discovery, known as electromagnetic induction, is the absolute foundation upon which all power plants in the world are built today. Wind turbines, nuclear reactors, hydroelectric dams, they all operate on this exact principle. It is said that the British Chancellor of the Exchequer at the time visited Faraday's lab, saw the model of the first electric generator, and asked him sarcastically, "This is interesting, Mr. Faraday, but what is the practical use of it?" Faraday replied calmly, "I know not, sir, but I wager that one day you will tax it." And he was absolutely right. One of the most astonishing things about Faraday's career is that he did not know advanced mathematics. While other scientists were writing complex equations, Faraday saw the universe as an artistic picture. He was the first to imagine that a magnet possesses invisible lines of force stretching through the space around it, what we know today as the magnetic field. Scientists mocked him for his lack of equations, until James Clerk Maxwell came along, took Faraday's visual imaginations, and translated them into complex math, proving to the world that Faraday's vision was entirely accurate. Faraday was not only great in the laboratory, he was great in his humanity. During the Crimean War, the British government asked him to help develop poisonous gases for battle. Faraday categorically refused, considering it a betrayal of science and ethics. Queen Victoria offered him a knighthood, but he declined, preferring to remain plain Mr. Faraday to the end. Never forgetting how a single lecture changed his life, he founded the Christmas Lectures for Children at the Royal Institution to simplify science and ignite their passion, lectures that are still broadcast today. Michael Faraday passed away in 1867, sitting quietly in his chair. He did not leave behind a massive financial fortune, nor did he patent his major discoveries, believing that science should be freely available to serve all of humanity. The next time you flip a switch to turn on a light, or plug your phone into a charger, remember that poor boy in London who bound books by day and made batteries out of scrap by night. Remember Michael Faraday, the man who defied poverty and ignorance, to present humanity with the greatest gift of the modern era, the power that runs our world.